Okay, in this video I want to demonstrate to the publishers or just the general audience out there kind of what my process is. Anybody you know that's trying to create a board game or is interested in board games is probably aware of the fact that there's a lot of work that goes on kind of behind the scenes, and so playtesting is sort of the major thing that you do. So for this video I'm just going to show you kind of what my process is. And I got my handy notebook right here, and all I'm gonna do is I don't know if you can read that or not, so I'll just say it out loud. I'm gonna test two concepts. I'm gonna try a concept called undercutting, and I'm also gonna try one called paying for the crops every time that you draw them from the draw bag, because as the game stands right now, you just draw them randomly, so that's based on chance. So I thought, well, why don't we introduce the possibility of paying for a crop if you have the means to do so, and what that kind of thing will open up the game to. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and test these concepts. Now the other one is undercutting, and undercutting, you know, if you know anybody in retail, they could probably tell you a little bit about this, but undercutting as a basic concept in my game is you basically, instead of, let's say you want to grow the most valuable thing, that's kind of the goal of the game, grow the most valuable stuff. Well, normally that'd be carrots, kale, potatoes in this particular example. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to focus on growing not the best crop, but the absolute worst one, in this case broccoli. Why would I want to do that, right? Well, it's pretty simple. If I manage to harvest my broccoli, I mean, I grow it on the regular farm, I do the normal things, I bring it to the market, and it nets me a token of one, right? A lowly one. What that means, though, is I basically cornered the market on broccoli. Meaning, well, I've created let me back up. I've created a crop that is being undercut, which means simply that it took more to produce this lowly broccoli than it did. It cost more to do that than it did that it actually brought in revenue, right? It costs more to make than you can make from it. So again, why? The question still stands. Like, why would you want to do that? Well, it's a question of time, basically. You know, the broccoli is going to be the low score, so let's just follow the example through. I went ahead and harvested the broccoli, and I got my one token. What happens next is the value of broccoli skyrockets. It just goes right through the roof. And what that means is the other competitors are not going to have a chance to grow the same crop. You've shut them out. And I'll explain, like, why do they feel shut out. I'll explain that in a bit. But first, let's do what we were going to do. So the broccoli now gains a huge amount of value. We're going to go, and this is what I'm playtesting. I'm not sure what the amount should be. But for now, I'm just going to say it's 60 tokens. So I'm going to put 60 tokens on this lowly broccoli. Now, how does that look to the other competitors now? It looks like, oh man, we need to go, let's focus our attention on either growing the broccoli too, or preventing the person who is growing the undercut crop. What can we do to stop them, or at least to slow them down? So, naturally, when you introduce a new concept or a new scenario into a game, you have a few configurations and things you have to figure out. You just got to go through the different permutations of what could possibly happen, right? Well, that's where the beauty of playtesting is. That's where all the kinks get worked out. And so that's what we're doing this time. Anyway, now I have my undercut crop. It's worth 60 points. And let's just go ahead and see what happens, okay? Okay, so they rolled a 6. I'll just do the normal thing. Well, actually, no. Okay, so this is perfect. I rolled a 6. That brings up sabotage, right? Now, at this point in the game, even though I brought the broccoli to harvest with the 60 points, this person could potentially sabotage on the next time that they see broccoli standing in the field, right? Kind of becomes a target. So, I forgot to mention one thing. after I've harvested the broccoli the first time and now it received the undercut value, we're going to go ahead and grab another broccoli out of the bag. There we go. Okay, so here's broccoli out of the bag. How do I indicate that it's an undercut crop, right? Because it looks just like a normal. So what I'm going to do, I think for now, the solution is we turn it sideways like this. So now it stands vertically. And it's got to be visible so the other players can see it too. So now we have a visual cue that other people can see, which would be the value of the undercut crop. We know that it's broccoli. And we can tell, since this is vertically oriented, that this person went ahead and harvested it once. Like I said before, it becomes a question of time. The idea is, if this person, the person who originated the undercut crop, if they harvest the broccoli again, then they can score the amount, not only of the 60 points or whatever it is that the broccoli has because it's undercut, but they also get to collect the additional bonuses just for doing that in the regular game. Whatever happens during the game, you always got to keep that in mind. So it's awesome. However, it's difficult because not everybody has an undercut crop with the lowest value to begin the game with, right? You just kind of have to get lucky. And you also have to gauge how easy it is to grow that crop again. Because if you played UFTA at all, then you'll know that with the fierce competition and everything that's going on, it can be sometimes difficult to stick to a goal all the way through the game. So let's just get back to what we were doing. We have a 5. Okay, so check it out. You probably can't see this on the video, but I do in fact have broccoli in this particular weight cue tray. And so that sets me up perfectly. I already grew the broccoli once, so now I'm going to try to grow it again. I rolled a 5 productive roll. I have 6 tokens, so I'm just going to do the normal thing. Now at this point I have to notice, okay, this is where the problem solving and the permutations come up. Does it matter whether or not you grow broccoli on the same cover crop field? Well, I'm going to say no, because it is very difficult to do this particular activity. It's a high risk at the beginning, but it's a very high reward, right? I'm just going to flip over what I can, and look at that, I just got lucky. It is broccoli that I turned over. So that was 1 token to, of course, my disc. And I'm going to plant with the seeder my broccoli. So now I have to think about, okay, defense, right? Because I have broccoli, everybody's going to be gunning for me now, because there's several things they can do to combat my ability to earn big score from growing broccoli. One of the things is just the normal thing that's built into the game mechanism itself, and that is the concept of sabotage. Somebody rolls a 6, they can immediately force me to get rid of my broccoli. So what should be on my radar, maybe, right? Like if I'm growing broccoli, I want to keep it there and I need to have it safe the entire time until it's ready to be harvested. Well, that's where you kind of, again, look at your resource shop materials, and if you look at, I think it's the organic sprayer. Yeah, that's the one that protects against many of the sabotage possibilities. And so what I'm going to do is just like, what are the resources that can protect me in the meantime, right? Something to bear in mind. Now, let's say I'm an opponent, right? Well, let's just see what happens. I've got the broccoli growing. Let's see if they can knock me off the, the top of the mountain. Ah, yes, immediately. So we have a 6 already. So, unfortunately for me, this person can sabotage. I really don't want them to sabotage my broccoli, so at this point I can negotiate. What do I want to give them instead if they don't get my broccoli? Well, what can I offer? Something tells me I'm not going to be able to offer anything at this point, and so this grower is just going to say, hey, remove your broccoli. So that's what I do. Remove it, just like normal, and broccoli moves up in value. Now, this gets into the other concept that I'm kind of kicking around and I'm not certain on yet, but I think it's pretty fun. The other way, if you're not able to directly attack the opponent who has the undercut crop, what you can do is do something that's sort of like a passive offensive move. And what you would do is you can manipulate the market. If you roll a 2, or if you have the trading house, right? Because the trading house, you probably don't remember, or you might remember, is something that allows you to exchange one of your weight Q trade crops with one from the draw bag or from the discard pile. So in that case, whenever this happens to move, either up or down the market or anywhere in the market, you are essentially depreciating the value of that crop. Meaning, if you mess around with it, you keep fiddling with it too much, it's going to lose value over time, which is depreciation as a concept. So in this case, I'm going to move the broccoli up, and I'm sorry, we're moving the broccoli because I ran out, right? Anyway, so we're going to move the broccoli. It's going to go up to corn. Now, how does that affect this person over here? They can still, do the normal thing. They're still ready to harvest broccoli again, but now this is worth less, right? So now it's worth 50. And now we're going to put 5 in. So now it's 55. That's just one way opponents can sort of do that. So anytime there's also a tractor return, let's say I'm doing my normal thing on the broccoli over here, and I have a tractor return because I run out of funds. So I return the tractor, and I would get 5 tokens. But it also means somebody can see my weight cube tray again. They can still steal the broccoli, right? So there's several vulnerabilities, and there's several, sort of cat and mouse games within this particular scenario, and that's why I think it's very appealing. Anyway, so where are we at? We moved this. It was devalued by 5 tokens, so that's good for the opponents. On this end, we have to figure out how to get grown that broccoli again, right? And maybe have an eye out to be looking for financing, purchasing a beneficial item in the resource shop. So we rolled a 6. That was productive sabotage. Now we're going to just do our normal thing. So let's just farm. By the way, okay, so that brings up another point. If there's a growing season issue, when the broccoli is covered up in coins, you don't really have to flip it over. You can know, like, if it happens to land on that turn, never mind the awkwardness of trying to get all that stuff off of there, you can just, you'll know because no other crop was turned over, right? So if none of them are turned over, it means, oh, wait, well, the undercut crop, this must be the one that's part of the growing season. Then when the next turn comes to manipulate the growing season, just flip over the next crop, then you can go ahead and just do that. Okay, so we'll make it simple. Anyway, it was on potatoes. It was on carrots next. Alright, so that happens to be what we're growing up here. Kind of nice. Okay, so haven't gambled. Now we turn over to the beginning again. Trying our best to maybe keep that undercut crop on our radar. Now, here's the other thing. What if somebody else has broccoli, right? What if they want to grow it too? Well, they can, but this is the cool concept of undercutting. What you have is something called a barrier to entry. And all that really means is, since this was harvested first by this particular grower, that means that they essentially own the rights to a first harvest to the broccoli. Okay? And if anybody else wants to try to grow that same crop, they have to pay a fee. And I haven't figured out what that fee should be yet. I'm thinking it's probably going to be around 15 or 20 tokens. And how, as a playtester, how did I come up with that? Well, it's a little bit arbitrary, but I think the reason I want to keep it around that 15 level is because it does need to be somewhat affordable, right? It can't be stratospherically high. But it also means if it's too low, it's just too easy for other people to compete and essentially steal this undercut crop, then the game's not quite as fun. There's not as much tension, right? And so, yes, both the amount of this particular crop, the undercut crop, and the amount of the entry fee, the barrier to entry fee, those are arbitrary. I just got to figure out by playtesting several times what that amount really should be.